उपश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रवतो महासरस्वत्यै नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे सर्वलोकानां विषये भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मिन् गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। देवीं वाचमजनयन्त देवाः तां विश्वरूपा पशवो वदन्ति सा नो मन्द्रेषु मूर्जन्दुहाना धेनुर्वागस्मानुपतिष्ठितैतो व्यासं वसिष्ठनत्तारं शक्ते पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकदातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। शिवशक्तिसमारम्भां भास्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मश्रीनाथपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्री ललिता महात्रिपुरसुंदरी समेत श्री चंद्रमौलीश्वराय नमः। श्री कांची कामकोटि पीठाधिपति जगद्गुरु श्री शंकराचार्य श्री चरणयोः प्रणामाः। स्वस्ति श्रीमद्कलभूमण्डलालंकार त्रयत्रिंशत्कोटि देवता सेवित श्री कामाक्षी देवी सनाथ श्रीमदे काम्रनाथ श्री महादेवी सनाथ श्री हस्तगिरिनाथ साक्षात्कार परमाधिष्ठान सत्यव्रत नामांकित कांची दिव्य क्षेत्रे शारदा मठ सुस्थितानाम् अतृत सुधार समाधुर्य कमलासन कामिनी धम्मिल्ल संफुल्ल मल्लिका मालिका निश्चिंद मकरंद झरी सौवस्तिक वांग निगुंभ विजृंभणानंद तुंदलित वनीश मंडलानाम अनवरताद्वैत विद्या विनोद रसिकानाम निरंतरालंकृतीकृत शांति दांति भूम्नाम सकल भुवन चक्र प्रतिष्ठावक श्री चक्र प्रतिष्ठा विख्यात यशोलंकृतानाम निखिल पाषंड शंट कंटकोद्घाटनेन विशदीकृत वेद वेदांत मार्ग शन्मत प्रतिष्ठापकाचार्याणाम श्रीमत् परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यवर्य श्री जगद्गुरु श्रीमत् शंकर भगवत्पादाचार्याणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमत् चंद्रशेखरेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमत् जयेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अन्तेवासिवर्य श्रीमत् शंकर विजयेन्द्र सरस्वती श्रीपादानां च चरणनन्योः सप्रश्रियं साञ्जलिबन्धं च नमस्कुर्मः. Super. I have given the script for this, right? Dhyana shloka to all of you. Okay. Those who don't have it, tell me. There is an audio file. There are audio files and script also for that. So we'll go to Vishnu Sahasranamam. We stopped at 75 last time. We'll continue from shloka 76. So, Bhutavaso Vasudevas Sarva Sunilayo Nalaha. After yo, there is avagraha. So, Bhutavaso Vasudevas Sarva Sunilayo Nalaha Darpaha Darpado Dripto Durdharotha Parajitah Darpaha Darpado Dripto Durdharotha Parajitah. Again, after ro, there is avagraha. Vishwamurtir Mahamurtir Deeptamurtiramurtiman. Vishwamurtir Mahamurtir Deeptamurtiramurtiman. Anekamurtiravyaktash Shatamurtishshatananah. Anekamurtiravyaktash Shatamurtishshatananah. Eko naikasavahkah kim yat tatpadamanuttamam. Eko naikasavahkah kim yat tatpadamanuttamam. Lokabandhur lokanatho madhavo bhaktavatsalah. Lokabandhur lokanatho madhavo bhaktavatsalah. Suvarnavarno hemango varangaschandanangadi. Suvarnavarno hemango varangaschandanangadi. Viraha vishamashunyo घृताशीलचलश्चलः. Viraha vishamashunyo घृताशीलचलश्चलः. Amani manado manyo lokaswami trilokadhrik. Amani manado manyo lokaswami trilokadhrik. At the end, if you see, the way I'm pronouncing ka, because there's a halant there. Sumedha medhajo dhanyas satyamedha dharadharah. सुमेधा मेधजो धन्यः सत्यमेधाधराधरः तेजो वृषोद्युतिधरः सर्वशत्रभृतां वरः. Again here Anunasika after Ta, because it is followed by, you know the rule, Anuswara followed by Yarala Shasha will go to Anunasika. Tejo Vrishodhyutidhara Sarvashatrabhrutam Varaha Pragraho Nigraho Vyagro Naika Shungo Gadagrajah. Chaturmurtishchaturbahush Chaturvyuhashchaturgatihi Chaturmurtishchaturbahush Chaturvyuhashchaturgatihi Chaturatma Chaturbhavash Chaturvedavidekapat Chaturatma Chaturbhavash Chaturvedavidekapat Samavarto Nivrittatma Durjayo Duratikramaha Samavarto Nivrittatma Durjayo Duratikramaha Durlabho Durgamo Durgo Duravaso Durariha Durlabho Durgamo Durgo Duravaso Durariha Shubhango Lokasarangas Sutantustantu Vardhanah Shubhango Lokasarangas Sutantustantu Vardhanah Indrakarma Mahakarma Kritakarma Kritagasah Indrakarma Mahakarma Kritakarma Kritagasah Kritagamah. Sorry, I'm distracted because somebody has come onto the driveway, so I don't know who that is. And Indrakarma Mahakarma Kritakarma Kritagamah Udbhavah Sundarah Sundo Ratnanabhas Sulochanah Udbhavah Sundarah Sundo Ratnanabhas Sulochanah Arko Vajana Shringi Jayantas Sarva Vijjayi Udbhavah Sundarah Sundo Ratnanabhas Sulochanah Arko Vaja Arko Vajasana Shringi Jayantas Sarva Vijjayi. Sorry, give me 1 minute. It has never happened before. I need to check who is on the driveway because nobody came inside. All good. सुवर्णबिन्दुरक्षोभ्यः सर्ववागीश्वरेश्वरः सुवर्णबिन्दुरक्षोभ्यः सर्ववागीश्वरेश्वरः महाग्नदो महागर्तो महाभूतो महानिधिः महाह्रदो महागर्तो महाभूतो महानिधिः कुमुदः कुन्दरः कुन्दः पर्जन्यः पावनो निलः कुमुदः कुन्दरः कुन्दः पर्जन्यः पावनो निलः अमृतांशोऽमृतवपुः सर्वज्ञः सर्वतोमुखः अमृतांशोऽमृतवपुः सर्वज्ञः सर्वतोमुखः सुलभः सुव्रतः सिद्धः शत्रुजिच्छत्रुतापनः सुलभः सुव्रतः सिद्धः शत्रुजिच्छत्रुतापनः न्यग्रोधोदुम्बरोऽश्वत्थः चाणूरान्ध्रनिषूदनः न्यग्रोधोदुम्बरोऽश्वत्थः चाणूरान्ध्रनिषूदनः सहस्रार्चिः सप्तजिह्वः सप्तैधाः सप्तवाहनः सहस्रार्चिः सप्तजिह्वः सप्तैधाः सप्तवाहनः अमूर्तिरनघोचिन्त्यो भयकृद्भयनाशनः अमूर्तिरनघोचिन्त्यो भयकृद्भयनाशनः अणुर्बृहत्कृशस्तूलो गुणभृन्निर्गुणो महान् अणुर्बृहत्कृशस्थूलो गुणभृन्निर्गुणो महान् अधृतस्वधृतस्वास्य प्राग्वंशो वंशवर्धनः अधृतस्वधृतस्वास्य प्राग्वंशो वंशवर्धनः. So we covered almost about 15 shlokas. We will stop here and then we'll move to Mundaka operation. So far, any question on this, Sanjay or anybody?
No.
Okay.
No. Only thing that initial chanting, what you said, I mean, I don't have. So later on, at your convenience, you can just send me the script and this.
Dhyana shloka. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So last time I think stopped with mantra number 2, right? Anybody remembers what we discussed?
I think in the shloka number 1, it was basically we are circling, spiraling, going between karma, jnana.
Correct.
The way we are going.
Correct.
And then in the number 2, I mean, during that number 1, actually, I may be skipping one back. You had mentioned about experience will guide us, but you had mentioned something about reading a book always is not jnana. So is it just to gaining something which is not jnana, means just we are just going through the words, is it? I mean, that is the meaning what you
correct
when we say reading the book. Okay.
And I will elaborate on that a little bit more today. Slightly today I'm going to be heavy on content, so bear with me. And if you are not able to keep track or pace, go back to the YouTube and watch it. It will be worth it today. Yeah. There's a lot of information that might give you a good idea, because all the mantras now is focused on Agni. So yeah, go ahead.
Right. And then you explain about the whenever we do Agni, I mean the
Havan.
We are performing the Havan. So the way it has to be performed, and you at the end you mention about the Agnihotra, means typically the
correct
flame has to be generated by a natural fire, right?
Correct.
Not by sticking a matchstick. Originally, I mean, the people
actually there are people in South who are practicing that even today, and my own guru tried it once. Yeah.
In Maharashtra also there are certain families, though they are very limited, still they follow that tradition.
Good.
And you explain about the dual flame, and then only you give the ahuti of whatever your offerings are, because that dual size flame is the tongue of that whatever we are performing, so it is reaching to that. That's what I can.
Those devatas, respective devatas.
Yeah. That's what I could. Yeah. And then you touched upon the panchayajnas, different types, and the difference between shraddha and bhakti.
Correct.
Those points also you touched upon.
Super.
That's what. Yeah.
Pura todi na kyo, bhukko kare na kyo ekdam. See, it motivates me also, right? When people are able to observe what is being taught here, and then you're able to relate it. At the end of the day, you're able to relate it to your day-to-day life. So quickly, without much ado, I talked about the concept of Agni. As people who have learned Vedas, we are supposed to perform certain Nityanushtanas. Trikala Sandhyavandana is one of that. Brahma Yajna is one of that. And the other part is we are technically supposed to be Agnihotra, ideally speaking.
Right.
But if you're not able to be an Agnihotra, at least do Upasana every day. Most people don't do Upasana also, because, and there's no complaint here. I'm not complaining about anybody or whining about anybody. It is very difficult, and also the knowledge transmission has become a challenge in today's world, and it's getting more and more difficult to understand and pursue our system. Concept of that is our body fundamentally is with Agni, the whole, right? So uh, the system of Agni is, you are supposed to have a constant Agni at home that is maintained. Agni is not like lighting a lamp. Oh, I've lighted a lamp, so that's Agni. No, this Agni has to be respected and maintained and managed and honored above all. And it goes like this. My father would have his Agni all through his life. When I get married and I go to the Grasthashrama, I get my Agni and I continue my Agni in my family. So what happens to the father's Agni? That Agni is what is used in his cremation.
Okay.
That's the flow. So importance of Agni. So there are Agnihotras even today, and those who want to switch that kind of a life, there is a huge village being built by a lawyer in South India, Vakil Mama is what he is popularly known as, who is building a place called Shankarapuram.
Okay.
It's the classic traditional old style agrahara and temples and all the rituals and nityanushtana, and where everybody is going to be Agnihotra. Is bringing back those days. So Agnihotra is one who performs just like Trikala Sandhya Vandana, he performs Trikala Agnihotra. And there are specifications for the Homa Havan Kund, depending on those individual time of Agni, Homa that you perform. So there is one at sunrise, one at sunset, and there is another called Vyahruti. Keep the word in your pocket. We'll expand on that sometime later. Okay. So that is a very important aspect of what are the types of this thing. And if you notice again next time when the Panditji comes home, if he does any havan, the first thing, whether you do Shraddha or you do anything else, the first thing he will do is to make the man perform Vichinna Agni Sandhanam. Vichinna Agni Sandhana means that I'm not maintaining the Agni.
Right.
And if I were Agnihotra, I would have taken that part of the Agni to do my Homa. Then I don't need to do Vichinna Agni Sandhana because I'm maintaining the Agni. Because I'm not doing it, I've broken it. I am apologizing, doing prayashchitam for that by offering my respect to God and creating that with the help of my wife. So again, there are beauties here, and it is very important without trying to digress into a political discourse. People then say, "Oh, okay, we are not allowed to learn Vedas. We are not allowed to perform homas. So what is our role?" The answer is very simple. Ladies, you are Agni Swarupam. You are Agni yourself. That is a fundamental aspect. So that is why it doesn't make sense for you to sit around the Homa Kundam and perform Ahuti to yourself. That is the primary thing. It has got nothing to do with menstruation, or it has got nothing to do with gender bias or anything of that sort that is made up of.
Right.
So this is the basic. Because there are people who, we performed a Gayatri Homa in here in Chinmaya, then there were many people said, no, we also want to sit and do it. We all said, okay, it's your choice. Do what you want. Makes no sense. You can show by physically, and that is a plane that you need to evolve from where you are to these understand the concept and system and respect and follow the system. Now you go slightly more into detail. Any of these havans, men cannot do without the woman.
Yeah.
You got what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Except the Brahmacharya Samhidadhanam, which is supposed to do every day. Havan, I cannot perform if I don't have my wife. So can anybody say what does it mean indirectly?
if you are alone, or I mean, if you are unmarried, then you cannot
No,
perform it.
what is the whole purpose of the procedure? The simple thing is, men are actually the laborers, outsourced contractors
Okay.
doing the actual task,
Okay.
but a lot of these things
Okay.
are done by, like, for example, you observe when you do the circumambulation of the Havan Kund after the Havan, which is considered important. There are times when the priest will say, the man, you go first with the Panchapatra. There are times when he will say, the wife will go ahead. It is basically, these are nuances that one has to observe. If you don't observe and keep talking, everything will look same. It is because actually a Shraddha is performed by the lady.
Okay.
We are only the executioners. So the first Ahuti itself with rice, he will give it to the lady.
Okay.
The lady is supposed to take the Akshata. She will divide it into two parts and hold it like this and give one to the man. Man will do like this, Swaha. And then she will take the other one. She will give it to the man. The man will do Swaha.
Okay.
That is not the end of it. Finally, the priest will say something. Juhudi. You all observe all this thing. That means she is okaying it and she is finally saying, done. So it depends on whether you want to be sitting and roasting yourself in front of a Havan Kund to prove that you're superior, or you would like to say that I am the queen of the house and without me nothing happens. So it depends on where you want to position yourself. So now, Agnihotra from a scientific perspective. Last class we talked about the liberalization of all of our systems by people who have never understood the system. So Agnihotra is actually a healing fire from the ancient science of Ayurveda. It's a process of purifying the atmosphere through a specially prepared fire performed at sunrise and sunset. And typically, anyone in walk of life can do Agnihotra and heal the atmosphere in their own home. Now, again, homas are not all the same. I won't mention about certain things because they are in today's world they are politicized. There is a we see the Vibhuti here. That is not something that you produce in a flour mill. This is actually cow dung, dried cow dung, used and stacked up, and you perform a homa called Viraja Homa. The ashes of that Viraja Homa is this bhasma. So those who are interested, I can even teach the Viraja Homa mantras later on, maybe 6 months, 8 months, 9 months down the line. But these are all important things. So there is something called Soma Yajna. Then there is something of a type of homa which I will not go into the details. They will actually pour such quantities of ghee into that homa that the fire will go almost 4 or 5 stories. Like it will be like boom. Each of those homas are there for a reason. Each of those homas are being performed by people because that is part of the ecosystem that I keep talking about. So when we don't know what are the recipes or combinations of the ecosystem, it is better that we follow what the books say and what the gurus have guided us through, right? So here, it from a scientific perspective, performing this homa is supposed to reduce stress. It is supposed to help you greater clarity of thought. Even in flame light lamps that you light, can the ladies tell me what are the two types? Technically you light two lamps. One has to be with ghee, which is called ajya deepa. The other one is with sesame seed oil. One is for knowledge, one is for memory. So a very simple aspect. You don't have to go to the homa level every day. You light a lamp at your home and you sit and chant puja. And before you chant the puja, the first thing we do is light the lamp. It's supposed to be the guiding principle. It's supposed to be helping us in our memory. You understand? Puja we start with Very simple shloka which I can teach you all. So when you light a lamp at home, you can chant that mantra and then light a lamp. Shubham karoti kalyanam arogyadhana sampada shatru buddhi vinashaya deepa jyoti namostude deepa jyoti parabrahmam deepa jyoti janardana deepo harata me papam sandhya deepo namostute. This is one. The other one is Bhagya Suktam. Pratar Agnim Pratar Indragam Havavahe Pratar Mitra. Got it? So that Suktam also I'm going to teach. So those who are interested can learn. Go to Rig Veda. The first Rig is on Agni. It starts with Agni. And I'm going to go into the details of that and give you the meaning of that also. But from a scientific perspective, it's supposed to lead to greater clarity of thought. It's supposed to improve your overall health and give you increased energy. Now, this whole energy principle is something that one needs to really dive deep and understand. Now, energy principle, you keep it alive through various sources. You eat food, healthy food, you get the energy. You do havans and homas, it gives you energy, right? So we will sometime remind me. We will get into the Nadi Shastra. We don't even bother about learning all these things, right? Our Vedas have given us a clear definition of how many nadis are there in our body. Nadis are not equal to nerves as per the scientific terminology. We have to use something, so we use that word for the sake of our conversation. But they are primarily the energy pathways. So there are 72,000 nadis, of which 14 are important, of which one is being used by me as I am talking. There are 3 fundamentally extremely important nadis that are in your system as you sit, talk, walk. Anybody knows what those 3 are? No?
Ida, Pingala, and Sukshma.
Sushumna.
Sushumna.
Sushumna. Sushumna. So it is called a serpent. It goes through like a serpent, coiled around your spine, your vertebrae. Ida and Pingala.
And when you're speaking, which nadi is, what is that?
If I had remembered, I would have told immediately. Maybe after 5 minutes, it will come automatically. That means I'm not lighting my lamp in my house very often because Vidya is somewhere else. Sushumna is the one that goes through your center of the spine. So when you talk of Kundalini energy being taken up, it goes through the Sushumna, through the Shat Chakra. Right? We talked in the beginning about the concept of sound or words that come out of our mouth, correct? Yeah, 1 second, Sonalji. So it is important because out of the 2, Ida and Pingala, one is a moon, one is the sun. So obviously, moon means cool, sun means hot. Your personality or behavior during the day and how you feel will depend on whether Ida is dominant or Pingala is dominant in your body. So let's say that you don't even know any of these things. You will just say, I am moody. How about understanding a little bit of these things and say, okay, what are all the mantras and tantras that we know in our system that I can practice, by which I will try to keep both the things balanced throughout the day. So it doesn't go on its own like a roller coaster. Suddenly, I think Padmaja is a very nice lady, and I go and try to talk to her, and suddenly she snaps at me and then gets angry at everything. And then by evening, she is willing to do payasam and coffee and serve me the seven course meal. We need to understand what's going on. It's all about energy, which also draws to the point, maybe at the cost of repetition, why we don't have the concept of shaking hands. It's supposed to be an energy transfer which we avoid, because if we have a lot of good energy, we'll transfer good to somebody else and we'll get drained. Likewise, if somebody has got negative energy, we'll be absorbing it. That is the reason why we don't shake hands. This And this is a very powerful mudra again. So it's all ultimately at the end of the day, it is science. And if somebody is going to ask for clinical evidence, yeah, you fund me, I'll do the clinical evidence and get you the clinical data. That's a simple answer. Or we can believe in the Shrutis and say yes. So it makes the mind also full of love and positive thoughts and positive action. So important it is it's also a tool these days where Indians don't believe in many of these things. However, I can vouch because I'm into the field of mental behavioral health also in a initial stages. There are many of these Shat Chakra that I'm talking about. There are many of these Agnihotra principles that we're talking about is used by de-addiction centers, rehabilitation centers in the US. I've been part of this training, so I know there are people who are running these. What kind of services they offer, why. So let us not be under the garb forever that these are all Vedic is our IP and we will teach you. No, none of the Indians, most of the Indians don't even know what Vedam is. Quite a few are putting in their effort to understand, but these are the important principles that is more important than saying I know 20 shlokas to chant. If you ask me to go to Chinmay and sit with the kids and chant shlokas, I may not even be able to recognize 80% of the shlokas. I'm not into that path. But whatever I know, I try to go to the meaning depth of it and try to understand what it says and how it relates to me in my day-to-day life. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sonalji.
Oh yes, thank you. Another question came up before the first one, which was, why do we touch feet of the elders and the gurus? Like we don't shake hands, but why do we touch the feet?
I will just simply say it's again energy that we are getting from that process, from them, without going into the detail. Remind me some other time, I will go into the depth of it.
Okay.
For example, there is a concept of washing feet. And again, this I learned only about a year and a half, 2 years ago, not before. I used to enjoy because there are people who always wash my feet before I get into their house. They consider that they're enormous amount of respect and bhakti for me. They used to do that. I used to tell them don't do it because of various reasons. One, it is meant for people who have really attained a very very high level of knowledge, not for somebody like me who's sharing this level of knowledge. Secondly, there are consequences of somebody doing that to you. Virtually, when you chant certain mantras, you don't know what mantras they're chanting. You don't know what the situation is. To the extreme end, if I have to give a simple answer, it also means that you give me all that you have earned as a good karma in your life to me. That is how powerful that one single action is. So, in short, touching somebody's feet is seeking their blessings and transfer of that positive energy to you. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any touch,
And,
sparsha is about transfer of energy. You can take it for granted. Yeah.
my actual question was about what you actually mentioned about balancing the nadis. Like you said, it's energy medicine. So, is there like it's a silly question, but is there like a mantra that we can chant to try and balance the energy? Or
I wish. There are no fast foods in Veda.
yes.
I wish.
Thank you.
I think I answered that question also in a class or two classes prior. The whole system is something that you need to follow. It is like let's give a modern day equivalent. It's called a full body workout. If you go to a gym, you can say, "Oh no, my shoulders are weak, so I'm going to just do shoulder exercises, or biceps, or triceps, or forearms, or wrists." The individual parts you can do exercises, or you can have something called HIIT, high intensity interval techniques or training, which takes care of your cardiovascular and your development of motors and power and strength, as well as fitness levels. Everything mixed is called the full body workout. So they will give you exercises in a nice regimen of from top to bottom. Today we'll do shoulders and chest, and tomorrow we'll do back, and day after tomorrow we'll do quads. So it depends on what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. If you just do a little, like if you say only keep saying Shubham Karoti Kalyanam, you'll only get the benefit to that extent. You stand the full Bhagya Suktam, it takes hardly 1.5 minutes, maybe slightly 2 minutes more. There are benefits of doing that. So answer is there is no shortcuts. So it is a upasana. We call it as upasana. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I understand. About what you said about mental health and using the Vedas for mental health, is it the mantras then, is it?
The principles of Agnihotra as a science, as well as the concept of Shat Chakra, to play around with the energy centers and energy levels in the body, is being used as one of the tools, several tools that people use for drug rehabilitation, etc., or dealing with issues that are related to anxiety, depression, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just like how many of you know Topu Karnam? All Tamilians will know. As I said, I'm going to digress today a lot, so I haven't even started the mantra of today, but it's worth having this conversation. If you see the pattern, wherever there is a river, we are supposed to take bath in the river, including women, right? The reason is it's a flowing water, pure water that is flowing. Once you take bath, when you're fresh, you will always see a small Ganpati temple on the banks of the river. Growing up, I have lived that life for at least 3 months in a year. We will go to the village, all family members will gather, assemble, and the whole ritual will go there. I didn't even know. I didn't even respect what it was. If I don't do it, I'll get spanked. So better do it. So we all will jump into the river, do all the swimming, get out, come. And in front of Ganpati, when you do namaskara, you don't do Sashtang namaskara. You always do this squats. And you hold your hand cross, holding your earlobe here at the bottom. It is not like this. It is not like this. Nothing. It's very clear. Nobody cared to teach or ask why that. We never cared to ask. So I shouldn't say nobody taught. In today's world, Yale and Harvard has picked up that one small concept. They've done a clinical study on over 5,000 people, proved that that is the only potential solution to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and autism. But because we didn't care about it, they just gave a fantastic name called brain yoga, and it is almost about a 1.5 to $2 billion industry in the US. So just like you go to the gym, Talwalkar gym or Mantra gym, you pay money subscription to, they will teach you how to do it, which my grandmother taught me free of cost. So that is the power of every one of the concepts in our system. Yeah, people can call me that I'm very outdated, blind believer, superstition, all the names you want to call, you can call. Practice and experience it yourself. And and Padmaja is one of the watching person that can talk about it. She has gotten into Sri Vidya Upasana, and she can talk about how many benefits we have all experienced ourselves since we started the Upasana. So answer is Upasana. It's not like a one minute mantra or 1 minute technique or a posture to be done to attain something. Yeah, Sonalji, go ahead.
I can't actually see you, but okay, I see you again. But I have not really seen what actually you do with. I don't know what is supposed to be.
If you have Ganpati in front of Ganpati, you don't do like this as namaskar. Yeah, you hold your earlobes like this, and you do squats.
So you mean these two?
Yeah.
Like cross your fingers, is it?
You
cross
hold
your
this
hands
to.
with the finger. Cross your hands.
Yeah.
Cross the hands. Cross the hands.
And use these fingers to hold your earlobes tight. This is the pressure point.
Right hand to hold the left ear and the left hand to hold the right ear.
But one finger in front and one at the back of the lobe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need to hold it in a pinching fashion.
Yes, like this.
Because that's a nerve. That's a nerve center.
Never knew this.
Why do you think we are putting this? This is again for memory. This is the memory nerve point. It's pierced.
Yes.
That is the purpose why you do earrings, not for fashion. Okay. While on the topic again, why do nose rings are given to ladies?
Memory.
No, this is controlling the sexual desires.
Okay.
This one. Yeah. So these are all sciences that come through various forms in terms of sampradaya, etc. If we follow it, we can experience the benefits of it. Otherwise, we can keep on arguing from the outside by reading the book and say, I am the bookish expert, and I will keep commenting and criticizing you that you're outdated and you don't know what you're talking about. So again, back to Agnihotra, it also nourishes the plants around you, and it neutralizes any kind of harmful radiation and pathogenic bacteria. It harmonizes the functioning of the prana, the life energy in you, and it also purifies the water resources, which is important. So this is, it is believed that this whole thing is given to us from the time of creation. Yes, Sonalji, go ahead.
Sorry. So if I were to want to have this yagna to be performed in my home, what would I say to the priest? What is it that I would like?
Which yagna? Agnihotra?
Yes.
Agnihotra is supposed to be performed primarily by your husband if he is initiated into the Vedic tradition.
No.
It is not. This is not something that you can outsource.
Oh, okay. So that's that then.
Yeah. See, if you go to a gym, you can't say, I'll pay the trainer. The trainer, please keep doing it, and I want to build my muscles. I wish it was done. Then I will quit teaching and I'll get into full-fledged profession of priest. Yeah, but good question. There are certain things we will talk offline. We'll talk offline about certain things that the priest can come and do for you. But primarily, what I am focused on here is what individually each person can do to experience and learn many things. Also, there's a notion that women can't do homa. It's not that blanket women can't do homa. There are homas that women can do. Women do. And Agnihotra is one of that. The flame has to be maintained, right? So if the husband is traveling, who is supposed to maintain the flame? It is the wife's duty and responsibility to perform the homa and keep it alive, aflame. So these are all very complex subjects that you need to go into the details to be able to understand the differences instead of just remaining at the superficial level. Yeah, sorry, Radha.
No, only one line for Sonal. It is a part of Grihastha Dharma.
Yes.
You have the Agni, the house. So the householder and the householder's wife, they actually maintain, and from that all other activities relating to fire is done.
It's taken from that primary source of fire.
Any to generate from that particular fire.
I'm going to ask a silly question. So thank you for that. So these days we don't do diya with ghee and sesame, but with a candle.
Yeah, plastic candles are there. In the name of fire hazard. It only produces heat. It only produces heat in a simple way, which you don't see. As I'm saying, see, I'll give you an example. I live in a wooden home in a wooden development, right? We perform all kinds of homas. Nothing happens. We perform samashti yajnas. People say, oh, no, you will not be allowed. I walked into any township here in New Jersey. Right? At least wherever I've performed a homa, we have to get township permit. Initially, they used to ask several questions. Nowadays, if I go, they will just look at my face and say, okay, go ahead. Because the fire marshals came and listened to what we are doing, how we are doing. He saw everything. I've given him videos and pictures, concept of fire, Agnihotra. He says, man, you know much more than what I talk about. So I'm not worried about it. You guys can take care of it. That should be the power. Huh?
When you do a Purna Ahuti, the flame really rises so much. Even that is safe in wooden houses with
I can do a Purna Ahuti with the smallest of the spoon.
Usually they hold a big wooden
No. Yeah, okay. Okay. Just like if I am in Mulund in Gita Sadan, my way of life is restricted to 210 square feet. I will live a life like that there, right? If you see my Panchapatra, etc., will be very small there. I can't have the big size Panchapatra that I am keeping here in my home. My Karpura Arati spoon will be a very small, tiny spoon. Here it is a big spoon. So it's not about the size or the quantity. It's about the principle and procedure that is used. So we all do Homa in an aluminum foil tray, which is very small. So if you want to do bigger, you don't do it inside the house. You do it outside. So we do it in our backyard. You want to do even bigger, we go to the temple where there is a huge concrete platform or base. Or we dig a pit in the soil, provided there are no sprinkler, underground pipes, etc. So point is, don't give excuses. So there is a law prohibiting this. If you want, you can go forward and do what you want to. With discipline and commitment and sincerity, you can achieve what you want. So back to this again. The essential part here. Now let us focus on Agnihotra because that's a principle that I want to convey, and quickly go to at least one mantra today. Is it okay if we extend by 15 minutes? Yeah. Okay. So here there is a reason for that 3 times performing Homa, because it is a biorhythm that exists in the ecosystem, and we are aligning ourselves with that biorhythm by performing these this thing. So typically it is done by using a copper pyramid Havan Kund. And as I said, there are specific shapes: square, circle. Then I think one is like a Chandra, crescent of a moon shape. Then brown rice, dried cow dung, and ghee. Ghee is clarified unsalted butter. And there are other dravyas that are used which are burned. Now you can do. We did a big havan in Florida in a temple, and that whole yagashala was full of wooden logs. In Florida, you can grow as many trees as you want, and each log that we put, I had to lift it with 2 hands to help my guru perform the yajna, and it was put into a pit, right? All the way to, I have small summits at home. When I do havan in my home in certain place in the first floor, I do with the summit. You go to the basement and you don't have time, then you can do with a darbha also. So it's not about the size and scale, etc. Depending on the hope, customize and do all these things. So these substances are burnt, and the mantras, I also can give the mantra, but it's of no use unless you are going to perform. You again do the ahuti, and what is the condition of when to give the ahuti?
Flame should be fully raised.
Perfect. Perfect. That's the key, because that's called the tongue of the fire. So I also talked about that there is a scientific study that I had gone through in my research once, done by students in Pune as part of their PhD program, to study the environment before Homa and after Homa. They have scientifically established the benefits of doing havans, which our great friend constantly challenges, but I never give him those kind of content to shut him up. I thoroughly enjoy when he blabbers a lot, and I keep needling him. Because when you keep opening your loud mouth without even reading anything properly or working hard, there's only so much you can gain. So then we talked about, as performing the havan also reduces the energies, the negative energies, and reinforces the positive energies, which is essential for us. Depending on the flame of the fire pattern, also the pattern of energy creation is controlled. So these are all very, very advanced concepts. And as I said in the beginning, it also neutralizes a lot of radiation. Those who are into physics, chemistry will know there are several forms of radiation that impacts us humans on planet Earth. Just because we don't see anything, we can't say that none exist. There are people, my Caucasian friends, if they just walk even for 1 hour in the sun, they'll get their skin burnt just by walking. We don't have that problem. So we can't say nothing of that sort exists. right? So enough talked about Agnihotra. I think the concept of Agni and Hotra is clearly understood here, right? Now let's go to probably the first mantra. And remember Vishvedeva also. That concept we will elaborate some other time. So the starting point is the whose Agnihotra is devoid of Darsha and Purnamasi sacrifices, is without the 4 months autumnal observances, is not attended by guest, and is devoid of Vishvedeva ceremonies, or if the Agnihotra is performed improperly, destroys his 7 worlds. We'll talk of what happens post death, etc., etc. The various lokas. We talked about lokas, but you actually traverse through the lokas. Each one is destined for a certain journey. What it says is if you don't do any of these things at all, you don't believe in any of these things, and you don't perform even the yajna properly, just randomly do some random things and go away, you are not going to earn your right to go through those 7 worlds, right? Anybody knows the 7 worlds? Bhu, Bhuvah, Suvah, Maha, Jana, Tapa, and Satya.
Then what is Atala Patala, Sutala and all?
It's another name. Good. So you remembered what was talked last time. So what I explained just now as a meaning is the meaning of the mantra number 3. So let's go to mantra number 3. Yasyagnihotra Badarsha Vapaurnamasavachaturmasya Vanagrayanamat Titichinticha Ahutama Vaishwa Devamavina Hutama Saptamam Stasya Lokan Hinasti. So we'll break it down individually into each word. Yasya means whose. Agnihotra, we already talked enough. It's referring to the Agnihotra sacrifice, right? Adarsham, devoid of darsha, or the works to be done during the new moon day. So again, another thing, those who do tarpana, you will see darsha sankramana for every amavasya tarpana that you do. That is the sankalpam itself. So darsha means amavasya, new moon day. Apaurnamasam, devoid of the sacrificial works to be done during the full moon day. Achaturmasyam, devoid of the sacrificial work to be done during the 4 months of the autumn. You do a tarpana in Amavasya, you do in the beginning of the month. Anagrayanam, devoid of the harvest sacrifice. Atithi varjitam, unattended by guests. That's another form. And we went into the details about yajna also in the previous class or the class prior to that. Atithi varjitam, unattended by guests. Ahutam, devoid of offerings. Vaishwa Devam, without the Vaishwadeva ceremony. That is feeding the animals and birds. Vidhina, not according to the injunctions, not according to the procedures laid down. Hutam is offered. Tasya, his. Asaptaman, to the 7. Asaptaman means to the 7. Lokan, the worlds. Hinasti means destroy. You're destroying your own chances of passing through those lokas to attain heaven. So when you talk of destroying 7 worlds by such irregular performance of the Agnihotra, he cannot attain any of the 7 worlds. Typically, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahajana, Tapa, and Satya. Of which we always keep talking about the 3 worlds. Every time we do puja, we start with Pranava, Om, Bhur, Bhuvas, Suvaha. That is Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha. Combined becomes Bhur, Bhuvas, Suvaha. Quickly, I want to talk about the mantra number 4. Mantra number 4 is Kali, Karali, Cha, Manojava, Cha, Sulohita, Yacha, Sudhumravarna, Sudhumravarna, Svulingini, Vishwaruchi, Cha, Devi, Lelayamana, Iti, Sapta Jihvaha. Anybody knows what is Jihva?
Tongue.
Sapta Jihva is 7 tongues. So basically what we are talking about is that flame that I talked about as 1 tongue is actually into 7 tongues.
Okay.
So it's not about I take a gas lighter, throw some camphor or wood or ghee or coconut, dry coconut into the Havan Kund. I've created a flame. Oh, great. Kumar told me flame is important. Flame is there. I've lighted it. Mantras I know, blah, blah, blah. Everything is there. So now if I perform Ahuti, I'm supposed to attain moksha. It doesn't work like that. Again, you need to understand the details. If you really want to get into this business, you need to really understand the details and study. So it takes time to study and understand all these things. You are required to ignite the Agni in such a way that there are 7 tongues. Sapta Jihva in the flame that you see is required for your Havan to be completed properly. Those Sapta Jihvas have got a name. Kali, Karali, Manojava, Sulohita, Sudhumravarna, Swalingini, Vishwaruchi. And Devi in this context is brilliant. Lelayamanaha is referring to flickering. Iti, these Sapta 7, Jihvaha, the tongues. So this mantra says that all these names are the 7 flickering tongues of fire. I'm going to stop with this because I just took 15 minutes grace. I'm wrapping up in 5 minutes. Unless you have the energy, I can finish off the context setting here, or we can start from that context in the next class, depending on your choice. So since silence means go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
About the lokas, the first one, and then Earth is 6th loka, and then Patal is the lower lokas, isn't it?
Here in the 7th.
7.
Earth is 7. So what Padmaja was asking about the lower, this Patal.
For that, you have to go back to my YouTube. You can't convert your homework to classwork.
But they are actually lower planes. I will go to the YouTube.
It is for the sake of your understanding, it is stacked up in the hierarchy like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
If I have to, as I said, even go back to the simple example, if I have to explain to you what this is, like we are all engineers, as Sanjay can tell you, it took a full semester for somebody to explain to me how to describe this object. I have to give a front view, I have to give a side view, I have to give a top view, I have to give a left side view, and if possible, a bottom view. And then we assemble all the views together to say, oh, this is how it looks 3D. right? So everything is always a representation that is given to you so that it reaches your level of perception and absorption of knowledge. It doesn't really mean in physical there is some stack up that is happening. Okay, so quickly, now here when we say Vishwamurti, Dhumravarna, Manojavasa, Lohitasya, etc., these are the 7 types that talked about. These tongues are also different with the difference of Samhita. And point here is Bahurupa, Atirupa, and Satvika. These Agni Jihva are used in Yoga Karma.
Okay.
In Agya home, it becomes Hiranya Agni. But when you are doing the same Havan with something called Trimadhu, these are things that you can learn. Ask the priest next time when he comes, what is it? And the priest can explain to you. Trimadhu means milk, sugar, and honey mixed with equal quantity.
Yeah.
It then becomes a Karnika Agni. By doing Havan with pure milk, it becomes Rakta Agni. The daily ritual that we do in the Naitik Dharma, it becomes Prabha Agni. When we do with flowers, there are certain Havans we do with flowers. It calls Bahurupa Agni. And when you're doing it with rice and kheer, it becomes Krishna Agni. If you do it with sugarcane, Ikshu, it's called Ikshu. It becomes Paraga Agni. In Padma home, it becomes Suvarna and Lohita Agni. When it is done with Bilva leaves, right? You're all familiar with Bilva leaves? Sonalji? Belpatra.
Yeah, we did that in
Bale.
Kailash with you,
Bale.
you chanting.
Yeah. So it becomes Shweta Agni. I'm giving those terms. So next time when priest is chanting the mantra, you will also be able to relate to many of what he's chanting so that it doesn't sound like blabbering anymore. If you do it with sesame seed, which is primarily a important thing that we do for Chandi Havan, it becomes Dhumini Agni. So for Ganesha, we do with all dravyas that I talked about, including puffed rice, ikshu. We also do with sesame seed, mustard. In I'm mixing up. Sorry. In Chandi, we do with mustard. In the sesame seed is done for Ganesha. So you will see different dravyas being used. That is what we call as dravya. This different material that I'm talking about is called as dravya. If you do it with wood, which is cast, it becomes Karalika Agni. When we do Shraddha for Pitru Homa, it becomes Lohitasya Agni. When you do Devakarya Pujas, it is called Manojava Agni. So whatever is the material that you put in fire, Vaishwanar exists in those Samhita. As I said, that Vaishwadeva is the carrier, is like the FedEx or UPS of what you are offering in that flame to be carried to the Deva. When the Ahuti is offered in the Agni Dev helps in all phases of life. And as I said, you should offer only in the tip or the mouth of the Agni. If you just throw it and scatter it wherever you want, it doesn't make any sense. Hiranya is the tongue of Agni while offering Ahuti with ghee, while in other Ahuti it is called Kanana, Vakra, Krishnabha, Suprabha, Bahurupa, and Atirupas that I have already explained. These are all, if you want to go into the depth, you can go into the Bhavishya Puran and you can pick up from there. The last part I will explain Kali, Karali, etc., which is what I wanted to do, and then we can wrap up today. Anybody knows the meaning of Kali?
Actually, Kali Karala comes in Devi Bhagavatam, na? Karmikara Antyavastam.
I was waiting for you to ask that question. Now, all the names of the Agni that I talked about, the type of Agni, why do you think I went into this detail? I'm glad you asked that question. If you had not, then I would have been disappointed. Now, next time when you chant Devi Mahatim and you understand the meaning to this extent, obviously, Ignaratha Mama is the genius there, was already explaining many things, but at the very simple level, little things, if you start learning like this, you will be able to one day understand the whole concept. So, Kali means black. That is what the main purpose is. We can go into the depth in the next class when we start how Kali came into existence and the concept of Veerabhadra, Sati, and Prajapati Daksh, and the concept of Sati. Beautiful story that one need to know. So Kali means the black one, which brings about the end at the destined time. And anything that is talked about here, you will find in Markandeya Purana. Karali is the dreadful one, the darker and the dreadful one, the cause of the great dissolution of the world. Again, you'll find the reference in Markandeya Purana. Manojava is swift as thought because of its quality of lightness. It's very light, and so it is very swift. Sulohita, the ruddy one, very red, which accomplishes the desire of created things. Sudhumravarna, which is of smoky color, that you should know. Dhumravarna, Dhumralochana, right? It's smoky color, which causes sickness amongst breathings. Sphulingini, having sparks of fire, because it is altogether shapeless. Vishwa Nirupini is that which makes manifest universe, bestows the blessings on all breathing things. Humans are not the only one that breathes, right? Plants also breathe, you know that. So, this Markandeya Puran also talks about Vishwasdha, or bestowing confidence, or Vishwasrij, creating the universe. There's a lot of reference there in all of these things. So we talked about Sapta Jihva, right? Any questions so far on this?
And what did you tell about Devi, you told?
The word Kali has got multiple meanings depending on the context in a shloka or mantra. Kali is also referred to as one of the names for Devi. What I'm trying to do by giving all this information, let me make it very clear so that you will understand. We are trained to say, okay, and no offense, including me, we all want to be told, yeah, I'll ask you a question. Tell me what is the meaning of this word. It's all unidimensional. If you want to understand our system, you need to understand it from a cobweb of words, meanings, and context in physical plane, in conceptual plane, abstract plane, everything. It cannot be just I take a word like what Max Miller used to do. We talked about in one of the mantras, right? Just because the word Varna came, just because Gotra came or something came, he decided that it is caste system. And sometimes those days people should have fought it right then and there. Today we are spending our lifetime fighting that in the US. This is the real situation. That one word that he introduced, caste, and he propagated it. Actually, there's nothing called caste. We have Varna, Jati, etc. There is a different stratification of the society. He intentionally, to spark division among the society, he used the term caste, which is not even an English term. It's actually a Latin term borrowed by Portuguese, and from Portuguese, casta. He used the term caste into English, and English put it on us in the 1700s. Today we are in 2023. It impacts your life. Yes or no? When Vedas never talked about caste based on race. Caste is race. Actual meaning of caste is race. Do you think Brahmana and Kshatriya and Shudra is all by race? So it's a complete mischievous interpretation and appropriation of the term. So we are getting into the depth. Actually, I'm part of the content writer for the books for teaching the children and parents here. We are starting with New Jersey, and then it will be spread to many other places, because it's important for kids and adults all to know what is the meaning. The word caste is not even our term. There's no term called caste in our system, Shastras. Right? So I hope this was helpful. I know we went a little overboard, but
No. Interesting.
you will now suddenly understand